Here we go with some very common phrases, with each passage consisting of 100 words. The commonest phrases are the most useful and make the greatest contribution to increasing skill and speed. I tend to favour the sneak method, where the same passage is repeated many times. Start off by writing out very neatly the shorthand paragraph in dark ink, paying careful attention to stroke thickness and correct placement, and omitting any of the vowel signs that you feel you don't need for this exercise. Set the timer on your phone for 2 minutes, which gives 50 words a minute. Practice by writing over the top of your sample lightly in pencil, or even just a point that makes no mark, saying the words out loud to yourself as you write. Keep the writing flowing evenly, gliding over the shapes and from one outline to the next. There will be no hesitation in forming the outlines, and when you can write comfortably within your chosen timing, you can then reduce it by a few seconds and continue like that, but not reducing it so far that the shorthand gets scribbly. As it is an exercise in maintaining neatness and smoothness at slowly increasing speeds, a good ruse is to imagine a fellow learner will have to read it without having to guess at anything. Getting the time down to 1 minute gives 100 words a minute, and 30 seconds gives 200 words a minute. After all the practicing, read and record the shorthand, which should now be entirely familiar, and this gives a speed that you know you can do. It is very encouraging to finally take it down from dictation after a short break and see an improvement in performance. These victories are not the same as managing an unseen dictation, but they are a step in the right direction, covering even, calm, but speedy hand movements, as well as revision of outlines and phrases. I started shorthand for the first time during the winter months a short time ago. I feel sure that reading the book was a very satisfactory thing to be doing on a Friday afternoon. As a rule, I would be doing some other activity at the beginning of the weekend. But so far as I was concerned, this would be very worthwhile. It was perfectly clear that in some months' time I would be more than halfway through, and I would be much more able to write as fast as speech. It is true, you must practice on your own. At first, I was indeed on my own, but later on, I said to my friend Tom, I would like you to join me in this new subject. Tom found several interesting phrase books in connection with our new hobby. It is important we really enjoy doing something like this in our spare time, and we found we were able to carry on improving our words a minute speed. I think this subject must be considered a worthwhile one in relation to our future job opportunities, and we are both very glad that we are now going in this direction. My new skill was something more than the usual, and I took advantage of every opportunity in the course of these months of free time. I am very certain that there have been some people who think it is a waste of time and almost impossible to learn. But in fact, I do not think it is beyond the average person. On the other hand, if you do not have an interest in it, it is most certainly going to be less than pleasant to spend your time on. It is important to practice the signs over and over again. I agreed with Tom when he said that for him it was going to be necessary for the particular requirements of his career. It may be that some other person has a different skill, but at the same time, it is most certainly going to improve Tom's business career. In a few months, we gained a reasonable skill and decided to send each other all sorts of things to practice on. For example, reading from newspapers onto our phones. In the course of these messages, we found we were able to increase our knowledge without taking up too much time. At the moment, I have come to the conclusion that you must be writing every day, and then take these words and write them out. That would be the best way of proceeding, if possible, and see how far you can get in a few months. In order to do this, you must have some form of schedule so that you can fit it into your business life. In connection with this, if you can practice daily, I believe that it is very likely that improvements will be made. I am sure there have been many who have done this. Tom said that in order to learn shorthand, he writes one passage as many as 10 times a day. I think that practicing in such a way can be considered essential, and he says it is worth aiming high in order to meet the requirements of his job. They must be able to take notes of meetings over and over again, and hand in their reports as quickly as possible. He said that in all cases, those who can do this would be more likely to be promoted. He said it can also be the route to extra work opportunities. Yesterday evening, Tom said, "I have received a letter from the college in relation to my shorthand exam at 70 words a minute. The note said that it is most important to bring your own pad in order that you can take the test." This point of view, in connection with the test, is sometimes given little attention, as some think it is not very serious to arrive without the items. They fail to consider that it is a question of common sense on the part of the student, and they are more or less responsible for their own success. I am glad to say that Tom got through the exam very well indeed, and is no longer in any doubt about whether or not he would be able to manage it. It was certainly very good news, but on the other hand, it was now my turn to await the exam date. I have given practicing first place for many months, and now it would be up to me to pay reasonable attention to revising. I have been encouraged by Tom's exam success, and I hope that we can talk to one another quite soon in order to practice. We were not at any time thinking that success was certain, but as we were sure our efforts were more than enough for the test, we eagerly waited for confirmation of our exam results. I am very glad to say that we passed our tests, despite the passages having a few longer words and many other unexpected terms. We agreed that it is most important not to allow this success to slow our shorthand progress, and we intend to add to our skills in much the same way for many more months to come, until we hit the 100 mark.